When determining property value, it's important to understand that a home's worth isn't just a number pulled from thin air. Instead, we look at various factors to get an accurate picture. First, we evaluate market evidence, which means examining recent sales of similar properties nearby to see what buyers are currently willing to pay. Next, we consider the replacement cost, which estimates how much it would cost to rebuild the property from scratch. Finally, we assess income potential, particularly for investment properties, by analyzing the revenue the property could generate. A reliable property valuation combines solid data, the unique context of the property, and the expert judgment professionals to arrive at a well-rounded conclusion. By keeping these aspects in mind, we can better understand the true market perspective and make informed decisions. When we talk about property valuation, there are three main approaches that help us estimate the value: the sales comparison, the cost approach, and the income approach. First, the sales comparison approach looks at what similar properties have recently sold for. We compare those sales and then adjust for differences like size, condition, and specific features. This method works best for owner-occupied homes, since it reflects the market demand for properties similar to the one being valued. Next is the cost approach. This method estimates what would cost to rebuild the property today. It factors in the land value plus the replacement cost of building, then deducts depreciation for any wear, age, or obsolescence. This approach is especially useful for newer or uniquely designed properties, as well as special-purpose buildings where comparable sales might be limited. Finally, we have the income approach. This one values a property based on the income it can generate, looking closely at rental income, operating expenses, and the expected return a real estate investor would want. It's a common method for rental properties or any real estate designed to produce income. Together, these three approaches provide a comprehensive framework for understanding property value from different but complementary perspectives. When we talk about the sales comparison approach, we're essentially looking at how market value is determined by examining nearby comparable properties. The key idea is that the value of a property is estimated by analyzing recent sales of homes that are similar in size, location, age, and features. From there, adjustments are made to account for differences like the number of bedrooms and bathrooms, lot size, or any upgrades a property might have. One of the most important things to understand is what to compare and what to adjust. We look at recent sales of similar homes and then adjust for any variations between those properties and the one being appraised to ensure accuracy. The core principle here is that the closer the comparable property is in terms of time, meaning sales happened recently, distance, and characteristics, the more reliable that value indication will be. Appraisers always aim to find like-for-like properties to base their pricing on real market behavior, rather than just theoretical estimates. This methodology provides a grounded and credible approach to property valuation, helping both buyers and sellers have confidence in the estimated market value. When we talk about what drives the value of a property, there are four key factors that really stand out. First, location is crucial. A property in a desirable neighborhood, close to good schools, public transit, retail options, and parks will naturally attract more interest and higher demand. Second, the condition of the property plays a big role. Elements like the structure, the roof, the essential systems, and general maintenance all contribute to the risk assessment. A well-maintained home reduces uncertainty and adds value. Third, square footage or usable living space directly impacts the price per square foot. Bigger isn't always better, but having functional and well-laid out space certainly adds to the home's appeal. Finally, updates can add a premium. Renovated kitchens and bathrooms, along with high-quality finishes, can set a home apart from comparable ones. When valuing a property, we always adjust for these differences, since curb appeal and interior quality are strong signals that influence the final pricing decision. In summary, location, condition, square footage, and updates are the core traits that guide how a home's value is determined. These four signals are where most value adjustments come from, shaping how buyers perceive and price a property. Now, let's delve into the cost approach, which is the second valuation method. This approach estimates the property's value by combining the land's value with the current cost to rebuild the property, then subtracting depreciation. To break it down, we start with the land value, which we assess as if the site were vacant. Then we add the construction costs. This includes labor and materials needed to reconstruct the building. Finally, we subtract depreciation, which accounts for the property's age, wear, and any obsolescence. This approach is especially useful for newer properties or special use buildings where there might not be many comparable sales available. Essentially, the cost approach uses replacement logic. You figure out what would cost to replace a property today, adjust for depreciation, and that gives you a good estimate of its current value. Now, let's take a closer look at the income approach, which is one of the key methods used in investment valuation. This approach estimates the value of a property by converting its income stream into present-day value. Essentially, it focuses on how much income a property can generate for an investor, making it especially useful for rental properties, apartments, and other types of investment real estate. One critical component here is the net operating income, or NOI, which is calculated by taking the annual rent generated by the property and subtracting the operating expenses. This gives us a clear picture of the actual income the property produces. Another vital element is the capitalization rate, often called the cap rate. This represents the market return that investors expect from similar properties. By dividing the NOI by the cap rate, we arrive at the estimated value of the property. This approach works best for assets where buyers are more focused on the income performance rather than on the property's appeal to an owner-occupant. The main focus is on cash flow, emphasizing rent stability, operating expenses, and the overall yield for investors. It's commonly applied to apartment complexes and other multi-unit or lease property types, effectively valuing properties that produce a steady income stream. So, when assessing an income-producing asset, this approach provides a comprehensive way to understand its worth based on financial performance. When appraisers refine property valuations, they carefully consider several core variables to ensure accuracy. First, amenities like a pool or spa can add value, but only if there's sufficient buyer demand in the market to support that premium. Next, capital updates such as renovations, especially improvements to the kitchen, bathroom, or major systems, can justify positive adjustments, provided these upgrades are recent and of good quality. On the other hand, deferred maintenance, like an aging or damaged roof, often reduces value because buyers factor in the cost of repairs or replacement. Timing is also crucial. Market trends mean comparable sales may require adjustments when prices are rising, falling, or shifting seasonally. Finally, public reference points, such as tax assessments, offer useful context, but can differ significantly from appraised values, which are based on current market data and specific property characteristics. By making these key adjustments and deductions, appraisers move beyond just the sale price to refine value with a thorough understanding of what truly sets each property apart. The valuation workflow is a carefully structured process designed to produce a defensible and well-supported opinion of value. It follows 5 key steps, each building on the evidence gathered in the previous one. We start with the property inspection. Here, the appraiser thoroughly reviews the property size, layout, condition, any upgrades, site characteristics, and visible issues that could impact value. This first-hand observation is critical because it lays the foundation for everything that follows. Next is the research phase. The appraiser collects and verifies data such as comparable sales, public records, zoning information, tax data, and neighborhood trends. This helps ensure that the valuation is grounded in the current market context. Then comes data analysis. The appraiser applies relevant valuation methods, carefully adjusting for meaningful differences between the subject property and comparables. This analytical step transforms raw data into well-supported value indications. Following that is the report generation. All the findings, evidence, assumption, and methodology are clearly documented and organized into a formal appraisal report. Transparency here is key to making the opinion of value defensible. Finally, the process concludes with the final determination. This involves reconciling the different value indications into a final opinion of market value, along with a clear explanation of the rationale behind it. This structured sequence ensures the appraisal is thorough, logical, and credible. When we talk about market dynamics, it's important to understand that market conditions can influence property values more quickly than the properties themselves change. Several key factors come into play here. First, supply. When there are more listings available, pricing power usually weakens because buyers have more options. On the other hand, demand matters a great deal. More buyers in the market drive competition and push offers higher. Mortgage rates also have a significant impact. When rates increase, borrowing costs go up, which reduces affordability and ultimately leads to fewer high bids. The broader economy shapes this as well. Strong local job markets boost buyer confidence and demand. All these elements combined serve as a valuation signal, meaning the same home might be appraised differently depending on whether the market is hot or cooling down. When inventory is tight, home values tend to rise because of limited supply. Conversely, if rates spike, buyer demand usually cools off. In a seller's market, low inventory paired with strong demand drives prices up. In a balanced market, sales prices tend to stabilize and become more predictable. Lastly, in a buyer's market, longer selling times often put downward pressure on valuations. Ultimately, pricing reflects what buyers can and will do right now. It's a real-time reading of the market conditions at play. Understanding this helps us make more informed decisions about property values in any market climate. Here are some critical red flags to watch for when evaluating a property. First, foundation damage such as cracks, settlement, or water intrusion can indicate costly structural concerns. These issues often lead to expensive repairs and can significantly impact the property's integrity. Next, outdated systems like old roofing, plumbing, HVAC, or electrical setups not only reduce the property's appeal, but also increase maintenance costs, which we categorize as capital expenditure risks. These can be a big factor when considering long-term investment. Location factors also play a major role in marketability risk. Properties exposed to high noise levels, heavy traffic, flood zones, or with poor access to quality schools may struggle to attract buyers or tenants, limiting demand. Legal encumbrances, such as liens, are another concern. Unpaid claims against a property can delay closing and complicate the transfer of the title, which is a critical issue to resolve early on. Zoning issues, including non-conforming uses, missing permits, or development restrictions, act as use restrictions that can narrow future opportunities and decrease the property's value. All these factors combine to create valuation risks. They can suppress the property's value, increase uncertainty, or even derail a deal during due diligence. It's important to prioritize reviewing these warning areas carefully. Any one of them could require deeper inspections, legal reviews, or pricing adjustments. While these red flags don't always kill a deal, they almost always impact the price, the timeline, or both, so they deserve our close attention. Now, let's focus on the independent review process conducted by licensed appraisers. These professionals play a crucial role in documenting the condition of a property, verifying all relevant data, and providing credible value opinions that stakeholders can rely on. Their expertise comes from a combination of credentials, including state licensing, formal training, and recognized appraisal certifications, which together set high technical standards. The independence of appraisers is especially important because it ensures that their valuations remain unbiased and objective. This impartiality protects everyone involved, whether lenders, buyers, sellers, or investors, from inflated or unsupported property values. By carefully reconciling market data, property inspections, and professional judgment, appraisers deliver value conclusions that stand up to scrutiny and help maintain trust in the real estate market. To sum up, a credible property valuation relies on 4 key principles. First, value is determined using multiple methods to get a well-rounded picture. Second, the location and the condition of the property are crucial. They heavily influence the price. Third, market dynamics cause the value to fluctuate, moving prices up or down over time. Lastly, a professional appraisal provides the confidence needed to make informed decisions. Keeping these principles in mind ensures a reliable and accurate valuation.